Hi everyone. Let's talk about Ambedkar's Annihilation of Caste. You have to study from chapter 1 to 6. Yes. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chapters, and I will summarize all the chapters so that you don't have to read the whole text, but you're welcome to read the whole text. It's a very interesting text. You should understand that this was not actually written as a book. In 1936, Ambedkar was invited to give a speech by a group of liberal Hindu caste reformers in Lahore. So in advance to that speech, that event, Ambedkar was asked to send his speech to these leaders, and they read the speech sent by Ambedkar, and they were not very happy with the contents in the speech. Obviously, because the content was revolutionary, and even though that event was organized by a group of liberal Hindu caste reformers, see, caste reformers, yes, they are supposed to support any sort of caste reformation, but still they were really worried that some caste Hindus who are going to be there in the audience will get upset if Ambedkar was allowed to speak. So they asked Ambedkar to make some changes in the speech and reconsider it and send it back, and he refused as any decent man would do, and instead he wrote it as a book. So we have Annihilation of Caste. So this is some background information about Annihilation of Caste. Now let's discuss why this book is still relevant today. It's still relevant today. You should know that Ambedkar is not a single man, a leader, a national leader who only fought for the untouchables or the marginalized. See, every time we have a tendency to limit his expertise to only this area. He is the leader of the untouchables. No, he was actually a brilliant man. He's educated. He's one of the smartest leaders India had ever witnessed. So far, and yet he is limited to this brand called the leader of the untouchables. So that is something that we should think of very seriously. See, other than that identity, you should understand that even though he is a revolutionary, he is the father of our constitution. See, constitution should have some discipline. So it's ironical, right? He's a revolutionary figure preparing the constitution of India, because it is something that you need discipline for in order to compile it. So it is ironical, but yet he did that. He is known for that as well. So let's talk about the chapters you have to study here, and I have got here a summary, and I will sum it up and give it to you instead of reading the whole section that is there in the syllabus. I think this is the best idea for you to understand, and I think it is more than enough for your exam as well. And also this is very easy to get the general idea about what he says in these sections. So let me go to that, just a moment. Yes, so I am going to talk about the first 3 sections here. See, the Annihilation of Caste. I will send you a PDF of my handwritten essay. The handwriting is not very good, but I think it is legible. It is readable, so it's fine. Yes. So he talks about 2 things mainly in these 3 sections. Let's go to that. Ambedkar declined their request for the deletion of some of the passages, and it resulted in the cancellation of the event in Lahore, the earlier event I was talking about. That is mentioned in the essay, so don't worry about the background. Background is already given in the essay that I am going to give you. So yes, and I have also quoted here Perry Anderson, a historian, quotations you can use for exam at least. Yes. So in the first 6 sections of the text, Ambedkar talks about the need of social reformation, which should not be limited to the reformation of family for a complete gut renewal of the country. So this is what we are going to talk about. And he says the path of social reform, like the path to heaven, at any rate in India, is strewn with many difficulties. Social reform in India has few friends and many critics. This is again a quotation from Annihilation of Caste. And in the following part of the text, he classifies the critics of social reform into two: political reformers and socialists. Now, about political reformers. See, reformers are a group of people who think that social reformation is possible, political reformation is possible without social reformation. Ambedkar is against this idea. Let me give you an example. If you want to improve the situation politically in a country, do you think that is possible in a country like India, where you have all sorts of people? First of all, you have to solve certain issues that are there in the root level. In the grassroots level, you need to solve certain issues. It is only after solving that issue politically you can bring up people and hope for a better India. It is very it's just like when we talk about a family. If you want to raise your family, the standard of the family in a society, first of all you need to focus inside the family about the relationship that the family members have with each other. So only after fixing that you need to improve the overall image of the family, the overall social status of the family. Just like that, first of all you need to, this is a very silly example, but I think you get the idea here. First of all, fix the root problems here, and that is called social reformation. Only after social reformation, political reformation is possible. So this is in a nutshell what Ambedkar says in these three sections, and he gives certain examples also. See, yes, he gives examples from different countries, and he also mentions some Indian leaders also, which you can read in the essay that I am going to give you. See, Ambedkar supports the side of the argument which says that social reform should precede any sort of political reform. Yes, for this he brings several cases of the untouchables in India and other minorities in several parts of Europe, which show that how a complete political reformation is impossible without social reformation. And he brings examples from different states in India and also from different countries as well. See, he brings examples from Ireland, and he also brings examples from, in Ireland there were problems between Ulsters and Southerners. There were two group of people who had different religions, and hence they had problems as well. So Ireland really suffered to bring a political unity between the people, because the people were split into two. Religiously they had differences. So Ireland suffered a lot. And in Rome also, see, patricians and the plebeians suffered a lot. See, plebeians were threatened by the religious, the oracles that were used in a cunning way by the patricians to cheat the plebeians. So they had differences in the religion way. So yeah, they could never bring that political reformation possible. And yes, he brings certain examples from different countries, and some of which I have included here in the summary. So it looks like you have read the essay by yourself, but yeah, it is a cheat code, but I know, but it will help you a lot to write the answers in the exam. Yes. So yeah, and he also takes examples of Martin Luther's religious reformation, which led to the political emancipation of European people. Yes. And he mentions American independence and several examples from all around the world where, first of all, social reformation was necessary before the political reformation. And these examples also show that if you don't have social reformation, political reformation is impossible. So by bringing these examples, he says that in India also it is not possible. First of all, you need to have social reformation. By social reformation, he means here annihilation of the caste. He calls caste the biggest monster. See, this monster, if you can kill this monster, this caste issue, caste discrimination, then this will help India to have a political reformation. This is what Ambedkar says. Let's go on to the details of the essay, but this is the short summary of whatever he says in these sessions. Yes. So after proving that political reforms are irrelevant unless there is a social reformation, Ambedkar moves to the socialists and tells us how socialists are irrelevant in this similar way. See, socialists believe in economical balance. See, money should be equally divided, property should be divided, everyone, if there is economical balance in the society, then everyone is happy. So that's what socialists believe. But Ambedkar says in India, country like India, see, Western countries it is possible because Western countries are based on class system. So there if you have money, yeah, then you get promoted from working class to upper caste. It is all about money. For example, see, you have Count of Monte Cristo, the novel. See, he comes from jail, from the prison Chateauneuf, and he gets this treasure, and he appears himself as a duke, and he tricks everyone in the society by pretending like a duke, and everybody respects him. So in a Western country, having money will simply wipe out your past, and you can pretend like an upper class. All you have to do is just adapt some manners and some table manners, some etiquette, and you're good to go. But in India, a country like India, having money alone will not help you. See, he gives an example also for that. Says that even the richest people in India, they listen to the penniless sadhus. So in front of a priest, they are helpless. If the priest says so, they are supposed to listen to it. So money in India, it will not make any difference in a situation like in India, where caste is the dominant thing, that is a monster. That's what he says about the socialists. See, yes, he says that, see, he questions this premise by asking the readers that why do millionaires in India obey penniless sadhus and fakirs? He also points at the irony of poor people taking expensive pilgrimage and states that religion is the source of power in India. So Ambedkar says that religion is the power in India. If you have direct connection towards the people who are the heads of religion, you are most powerful in India. And I believe some films can prove this point today, and how religion is a biggest tool to control everything in society. We have so many films in modern films which show these controlling this power of religion. So please remember those films, but don't include those films in the answers, because you know the whole style of the answer will change. But yes, if you are a bit of adventurous, yes, you can try that, but use it subtly. Don't ruin the whole essay, but use it in a subtle way. So yeah, do that. So that is all in the first 3 sessions. Let me see if there is anything more. Yeah, so he criticizes political reformers who believe that social reformation is not necessary for political reformation, and he also criticizes the socialists who believe that economic balance, equilibrium is the only thing that is required for a good society, for a healthy society. He also criticizes them. So yeah, so this is only another way of saying that turn in any direction you like, caste is the monster that crosses your path. You cannot have political reform, you cannot have economic reform unless you kill this monster. So this is how he concludes this first 3 sections in Annihilation of Caste. Next we will discuss section 4, 5 and 6.